10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay, folks, good evening and welcome to the Blue Heart 1872 podcast. We're back after last season. Tonight's guest, folks, ex-Ranger from Sky Sports, living out in Doha at present, working for BN Sports, is Andy Gray. Before we bring Andy on, folks, I just want to give you a few other podcasts coming up. So in 2 weeks' time, folks, it's ex-Ranger Chelsea player Tor Andrew Flo will join us. And obviously next week, folks, you all know, Rangers fans, what's happened this last 72 hours regarding the attack on the Hand and Heart guys podcast at Rangers. Attacked by the Daily Record. Obviously, a couple of lads have had to stand down from the podcast. So next Sunday, folks, on at 7 o'clock, David Edger will be live on the Blue Heart 1872 to put his piece across on exactly what happened, why the Daily Record have got this vendetta against the Blue Heart or against the Heart and Ham podcast and anything Rangers. So we all know, folks, has been attacking Rangers ever since we got 55, and after last Sunday, that has sent them into overdrive. So before we bring Andy on, also, folks, it's good to be back in the Blue Heart 1872 podcast. Loads of players coming up. And another thing that's come up, obviously, folks, we've got the Lee Rigby World Cup game coming back on. A lot of people have been asking when that is. That is now set for next Saturday, or 20th of May next year, bank holiday weekend, and your tickets are available at www.afcportchester.co.uk. Looks like a big audience building for Andy Gray, folks. Get your questions in. You can ask the questions. I'll put them to Andy. So hopefully, if I hit my button, Andy should appear from Doha. Good evening, Andy.
The wonders of modern technology. Hi, guy. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks very much, Andy, for coming on. Fantastic to get you on, mate. Brilliant. Andy, we start obviously born and bred in Drumchapel, born a Rangers man from day one.
I was the youngest of 4 boys, and a big Rangers family. So listen, there was never another opportunity. There was never a chance of me ever supporting anyone else. You know, you were one or the other. It was simple as that. In Glasgow in those particular days, particularly in a place like Drumchapel. And from as young as I can remember, Rangers very much in my blood,
Good man, okay. And Andy, starting out obviously in Scotland as a player, you started at Dundee United. Was that your first club?
It was. I kind of fell into not juvenile football. It was almost not junior football, juvenile football. And I didn't think I was going to end up playing. And I got a game with a club called Clydebank Strollers, an old, very famous old club way back in the day, juvenile club. I had a couple of good years there and I got spotted. Obviously, I would love to have played for Rangers. I was wished them. But in hindsight, I think my way through was enhanced by the fact that I went to Dundee United and I met Jim McLean, who was just amazing for me. Took me under his wing, taught me everything he knew, good and bad. Jim, good and bad. He taught me how to win, that's for sure. He taught me how to hate losing, that's for sure. I think it was in there anyway. And that was it. I went up there and had 2 fantastic years up there, brilliant years. Really enjoyed it. The only disappointment was losing the cup final with Celtic. Second season I was there. I think it was second. It might have been the first season, actually. Whatever one it was. We lost at Amden. So I was devastated that day, obviously.
Okay, folks, you put the questions in. Obviously, it's a good audience here. If you're on the Facebook page, like and share, please, folks. And if you're on Twitter, hit the retweet. And they obviously, after Dundee United, there was a move down to England, then to Aston Villa. Yeah, that was the first move.
It was funny. We Jim was always at. We were due to play Celtic on the Saturday, and I remember I was training with the boys on Friday at Tannadice, just around the track, just doing a few shuttles, a few sprints, a few looseners. That's all we ever did on a Friday. And he was quite nippy with me. as we say in Glasgow, he was like a nippy face on, and he was having a little chip at me about my sprints and my shuttles, and I'm thinking, what's the matter with him? It's not like him. I mean, we've got Celtic tomorrow, so I don't know why he's having a wee go at me. And I always travelled back to Glasgow on the Friday when we were playing anyone down that area.
Yeah.
And so I went back with a guy called Jackie Copeland. I drove back. He used to drive me back. We went back. Jackie was saying, what's the matter with the gaffer today with you? I said, I've got no idea. I said, have you done anything? I said, no. I said, maybe he's dropping me tomorrow for the Celtic game. Jackie went, that was fucking stupid. Of course he's not dropping you. I said, well, it almost looked like it. Anyway, that afternoon I got a call from the secretary at Dundee United to say that they'd agreed a fee with Aston Villa, and I had to be at Glasgow Airport at 5 o'clock that night. This was about maybe 2 in the afternoon on the Friday. So I went to the airport, met a couple of directors who flew down with me, did the deal on Friday night in a hotel in Birmingham, and I sat in the dugout and watched an amazing game on the Saturday. Here's me thinking I'm going to Parkhead to play. And I was sitting there at Villa Park watching Aston Villa against Birmingham, the local derby. Like 58,000 people there, absolutely rammed into Villa Park. And Villa won 2-0. Brian Little scored a couple of great goals. And I thought, I was sitting there, honestly, guys, I was sitting there and I thought, Jesus Christ, I want some of this. I mean, I was scared. I was a wee bit scared. And I also thought, God, I could take this, coming and play. And I thought it was like that every week, local derbies. But it was brilliant. It was a great introduction.
Yeah, Villa. Yeah. Obviously, some questions coming in. Obviously, Wilf Marshall, no Wilf well. Even Andy, what's your favourite career goal?
Oh, wow. Oh, goodness. One of the best goals I ever scored, I think, was when I played for Scotland, actually. And I don't know who we were playing. Might have been Portugal. No, it wasn't Portugal. Might have been Finland or something like that. And I was playing with Kenny Dalglish up front. And he kind of crossed it from sort of right side, inside right, maybe 30, 40 yards out. And I took it the opposite side of the penalty area, just left it a D on my chest. And I volleyed it in from the edge of the box into the top corner. And, I was as surprised as anyone because it wasn't the typical kind of goal I scored. I wasn't a scorer of, I don't think, hugely memorable goals. But, goals like scoring for Rangers was obviously something that I achieved and always wanted to and never thought I would. So that was obviously massively special from a Rangers fan's point of view, mine. Scoring goals for your country was always a big one. I always wanted to score in a cup final. I scored in an FA Cup final, League Cup final, European final. So I was lucky in that I managed to do it all. None of them I can think, none of them were exactly what you would call etched in the memory of great goals in cup finals, but they were my goals in my cup finals, and I was made up. My Scotland goals, some of them were pretty good. I have to be honest. I only got a few, but there were some of them were pretty good. So, I don't have one that sort of sticks out. I scored a fantastic goal at Tottenham when I was playing for Everton. It was decided. It was supposed to be a league decider. We went down to Tottenham. We had about 10 games to go. We were top of the league, but they had about 4 games in hand, and they had 6 games at home. So everyone was saying this is a league decider. And you ever get a chance to it? There was nothing fancy about it. I mean, Big Neville Southall just humped it downfield, and Paul Miller was backing away, centre back, and he could have left it go. I was playing against him and Graham Roberts that night. My God, me and Graham Sharp against Roberts and Miller. Wow.
Feisty.
That was good fun. And they kind of Maxi Miller, and he kind of just headed it sideways. And it just came to me, and it was coming across me from sort of left to right. And it was coming on my right foot. Well, anyone who kind of knows me knows it's not kind of 100% certain I'm even going to make contact. But anyway, Ray Clements was in goal. Great goalkeeper. So I swung my right foot at this without even taking a touch on the ball. And from about 20 yards, it rifled past Clem into the bottom corner. He never moved. And I thought, wow. So that was probably as good a hit as I hit with my right foot, that's for sure. That was a big, important goal as well, because we went on and won that 2-1 that night at White Hart Lane. And it was a big kick in the goalies to Tottenham. And it really set us up and off we went. Yeah. Nobody caught us then. So that was a big night.
Right. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to, I've got to speak to John McKinnon he's tuned in from Brisbane, Australia. John lives a big Rangers fan, lives in Brisbane, so he's up early in the morning to listen to you, Andy. Fantastic. Good. Okay. Andy, I better put this up for my missus. You should follow me. It'd be great if Andy could give Larne FC a shout out to the viewers in the Middle East. You've heard of Larne FC?
Of course, I've heard of Larne FC. Yes.
So there's a lot of money going into Larne from Purple Bricks. A lot of money going into Larne. They've become full time now in the Irish League, and they're pushing for they're going to challenge Linfield anyway. It looks like it. So.
Lovely. Well, listen, here's a great shout out. Come on, Larne FC. Get and support them, everybody. From all of us here in the Middle East. Yeah, and Qatar in particular. A big shout out to Larne FC. Absolutely. Right, okay. And they obviously, we talked there about Villa and then the move to Everton. Villa to there was one in between it. You've got to get your history right. I forgot Wolves. Wolves, sorry. I've got a couple of Wolves, mate. Sorry. So, obviously, the move to Villa for Wolves, 1.49 million back then. Was that a record transfer fee back then? Yeah. It was actually second only in the world to, I think, Paolo Rossi when he got transferred after the 78 World Cup. When he had such a good World Cup, as we can remember, he got transferred for more than that. But it was certainly a British record. And it was a second highest, I think, in world football at the time. So yeah, it was. But you know what? Everybody's always said that to me. You must have felt so much pressure on you. But you know what? You don't, because it's not something you got control of. I didn't want to. I'd fallen out with the manager. I wanted to leave Villa, so I didn't want to stay there with him. They got an offer that they just couldn't refuse. They didn't want me to leave. I know that. But when someone offers you a British record transfer fee, then you kind of makes you sit up and take notice. No matter how good a player you are, you have to think about it. And they did, and Villa decided that was too good an offer to turn down. Particularly as I told them I was really upset and wasn't going to play for Saunders again. So the deal was done. I went. I never thought it was a burden at all. They were a good set of lads at Wolves, really good, experienced players. We just didn't have the backup when they were sort of just getting over people like Emlyn Hughes, John Richards, Kenny Hibbett, Willie Carr. They were brilliant pros, but they were the far side of 30, the other side of 30. Yeah. And it's a shame that I never got there 5 years earlier when they were all a bit younger. We'd have had a really good side. And it wasn't a great 4 years. It was the club went into administration. There were 2 or 3 different owners in the 4 years I was there. There was relegation, seesaw up and down. It was a really traumatic time, and it does a lot to your self-belief. You know, when you're in a team that gets relegated and you come up again, and then it looks like you're going down again, and you kind of wonder if that's it. And I did. Yeah. I have to be absolutely blatantly honest. I thought that maybe at 28, as I was then, 28, 27, as I was there, just 27 coming up 28, I thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe I've had my best days and maybe I'm just going to, drift away. But thankfully, it didn't happen like that. Brilliant, Andy. Right. So John McLaughlin asks, Andy, who was Andy's favourite Glasgow Rangers player? Oh, when I was watching. Well, it must be Andy. He just says, who's your favourite? Or if you a current one or a recent one? Well, now listen, my favourite Rangers player ever is Davy Cooper, without a doubt, because I knew all about Davy's ability, and I'd heard about it and watched it on TV, but I'd never been up close to it. And when I went there for a year to Ibrox, for the majority of the year, Davy and I were kind of the two subs. It always seemed to be, we would be subs. We often played, but it was 8 times out of 10, Davy and I were sitting there and we trained a lot together. And it was just an amazing. And I came to Qatar after that. And we know Ruud Hullet well. Ruud's a good friend of the channel here and he comes regularly. He's one of our main pundits when we have football. And he heard me talk about Davy Cooper. He says, Davy Cooper, he says, he's the best player I've ever seen. I says, what? Ruud Hullet has just said, you ask Ruud Hullet who's the best player he's ever seen, and he will tell you Davy Cooper. And the goal he scored, was it in the Dryborough Cup? Was it?
That's
Dryborough
right,
Cup?
Yeah.
That goal he scored in the Dryborough Cup that day. He talks about Brutal, like, yeah, the one he says he flipped over his head and he was doing this. He said, I've never seen anything like it. So, but when I was a kid watching, you couldn't not be a Jim Baxter fan, even though I kind of I like to score goals. You couldn't watch Slim Jim play and not be mesmerised by, what he did with one foot. It was like the ball was attached to him. And I'll never forget Wembley. 67 was it? When he's keeping it up, drifting down the pitch, keeping it up himself, and then flipping it over to Dennis, who probably should have scored, but he never. I think Banks made a great save. But Slim Jim was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Before my time, Andy. Before my time.
It's a bit before your time.
Right. Okay. Question from Alex Smith. Okay, Andy, how many Scotland caps did you get, and how many goals did you get? Legend.
Not enough would be my answer to both of those questions. Not enough. Not when you consider I got capped at 19 for my first time, and my last cap was at 29. And that's 10 years. So kind of 2 caps a year. I didn't help myself, admittedly, when I got sent off in Czechoslovakia, played for Scotland in Prague, and in a World Cup qualifier. And I was only a baby. I was 20, maybe 19, 20. I was probably 20. We went to Prague to play, and I think Big Joe Jordan and I were picked up front. And the ball was down. We were defending under a bit of pressure. And the big centre-back, Anton Ondras, I'll never forget his name. He was a mountain of a man. I mean, a beast. And I was like 20-year-old. I was like 10 stone wet, dripping wet. I was like so skinny, it was unbelievable. And he tapped me in the shoulder, spun me around, and just clocked me one right in the chin. So I've gone, what the fuck's happening here? What's this? And I've looked up, and of course, being a jock and a Glaswegian, the red mist came up, and I ran over to him, and I pulled him round, and I just knocked him one on the chin. And I thought, right, I was really chuffed with myself. And then I looked over, and I saw the linesman flagging. Linesman's like this. I'm going, oh, no. And my mum was watching it live in Glasgow. Oh, did I get pelters off my mother when I got home? Oh, God rest her soul. She absolutely battered me. Andrew, how could you do that? My whole family was watching. I said, I'm sorry, Mum. And I got banned for about 2 years.
Wow.
Because there wasn't many, in those days, there weren't many qualifiers. It's not like now where there's 3 qualifiers in a week and things like that. I got a 4 or 5 game ban, but it took 2 years to fulfill the 5 fixtures or whatever it was. So I must have missed about 20 odd caps in those 2 years. And then Ali McLeod, in his wisdom, didn't think, even though I was the best player in England, let alone Britain at the time, I had been voted it. He didn't think I was good enough to go to Argentina in '78, which was, I've not had many disappointments in my football career, but I was devastated when I was sitting at a mate's wine bar in Birmingham, and we were waiting for the squad to be announced, and he's saying, right, we'll get some champagne out, get some champagne. You're a certainty. I says, nah. And there was something in the back of my head that I thought, I don't think he's picking me. He went, the mates were going, that was so stupid. What do you mean he's not picking you? Who else is he going to pick? I says, well, I don't know, but I don't think he's picking me. And he went, I said, I'll go and get it. And it wasn't in the days where you had it on the TV. You had to go and phone up or get in the radio or something like that in '78, or get on, what was it, CFAX or something like that? Teletext, something like that. To find out if you were in the squad. And he came back through, and as soon as he walked through the door, I knew I wasn't in it. And I was devastated. That's the worst feeling. I think I've lost cup finals and been down, and but that was devastation, because I never got to a World Cup, and that's the one thing that's missing in the CV.
Yeah. Okay. And goals for Scotland, Andy? How many goals?
I think it's about 7 or 8. Yeah. It's about 20 caps and about 7 or 8 goals, I think. Yeah. Okay. Not enough.
Okay. A question from Jim's Fluke. So, Andy says the wife Emma is a Baggies fan. Asked if you still analyse games like you're still doing.
Well, Emma, a Baggies fan. Well, I know the Baggies well because my in-laws, my wife, her family are all Baggies fans as well. So I know all about the Baggies. And obviously I spent a year there with Big Ron Atkinson, which was great fun. I mean, when I'm sitting watching at home, I tend to watch it as a fan, Emma, and just like anyone else would. But when I watch it when I'm doing work on a Saturday, Sunday, when I'm watching a game, I have to try and be a little more analytical. But there's less pressure out here. We're very easy in the way we go. We kind of like to chat a lot on our show with our guests that we've got in and what have you, and let the thing develop. We don't go overboard in analysis. We don't just show things for the sake of showing it, but we do on a Saturday, Sunday when we do the games. Richard Keys and I and whoever guests we have, we do kind of analyse them. Not like the boot room. The boot room was fun and it was special. But yeah, we're a little more analytical at the weekend than I would be, say, tonight if I turn on a game later and have a little look at it.
Yeah, okay. Andy, let's move on then. Obviously, Wolves, and then it was Everton. Am I right?
Yeah, you
What
got
a
that
team.
right.
Yeah.
You're doing well there.
Yeah, what an Everton team that was. Because obviously...
It became it. You wouldn't have thought that when I arrived in November '83. As I say, I thought I was done. Wolves were struggling. That was November. Wolves were struggling. It looked like they were going down again. I think they did. And I just got a call out the blue. Howard Kendall wants to see you. You need to drive up now. It's on a Friday. And I drove up, met Howard in the pub, Queen's Head. not far away from the training ground. Sat with Howard, had a glass of wine with him and had a chat. And I didn't need any convincing. I knew Wolves weren't going anywhere then. I knew I wasn't going anywhere. And I just thought Everton's such a massive club. But it was struggling, really struggling. It was in the bottom. It's like Wolves, it was in the bottom half a dozen in the league. So it wasn't like I was jumping from a team down there to a team in the top six. But when I got there, you could just sense there was something special. The kids, the young players that were there, and Rangers have benefited over the years. Quite a few of them. But Trevor Stephen, of course, Gary Stephen, of course, two in particular that were. You could just see there was something special about them, and the way they went about it. Kevin Ratcliffe, Derek Mountfield, all young kids. Peter Reid was like me. We were the old senior pros. Paul Bracewell, Adrian Heath, Graham Sharp, another Scott. They were all young, inexperienced, but talented. And I don't know how it happened, but Howard got us together. And between the November and the beginning of the next year, that's only 6 weeks, he had himself a team that went on to win the FA Cup that year, raced up the league. I think we finished about 6th or 7th, well clear of any trouble we were in November. And we finished the season winning the FA Cup and thinking, wow, that wasn't a bad season. But I don't think any of us in our wildest dreams realised or envisaged what lay ahead the next season. It was what fairy tales are made of. And especially when we play Tottenham at home in the opening day of the season and we get battered, I think 4-0. So we're kind of like that. And then we went to West Brom on the Wednesday. We lost 2-0. So we've played 2 games. We've lost 2, conceded 6, and haven't scored. I would have to add, I was injured at the time, so I wasn't playing in either of those games. But I remember we went to Chelsea. I still wasn't fit, but we went to Chelsea, played the 2 games, nothing. Went to Chelsea on a Friday night. It was one of those weird Friday night kickoffs they had every now and again back then, but not very often. So it was live on TV somewhere, ITV, BBC it would have been. And I remember Howard saying to the boys in the dressing room, he says, right, I don't care what happens tonight, but we get a clean sheet. That's the first thing. And that's, if we only get a clean sheet, I'm happy. If we don't score, get a 0-0, fine. We start tonight. And we did get a clean sheet. And I think Kevin Richardson scored a late goal. We won 1-0. That was it. Drama gone. Nerves settled. And we went off in this stunning run that took us to the brink of a unique treble.
Yeah, brilliant. And then obviously, Andy, we took the FA Cup against Watford. You scored in that? Yeah,
I mean, I was lucky. I scored in the League Cup final. I scored the winner for Wolves when we beat Forest in 80. That was a big game because Forest were miles better than us. They were winning the European Cup that year. Yeah, we played them a couple of months before in the League Cup and beat them. How that happened, I'll still to this day don't know because they had so many better players than us. But we got through it and I got the winner, so it was nice. And then the FA Cup final, yeah, Graham Sharp and I got both goals, the two Scots playing up front. It was special for us. It really was. We were better than Watford. I don't think we ever doubted that we would beat Watford. We had won the league. It was done and dusted. And there was the FA Cup. And no, sorry, the Cup Winners' Cup came before it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It did. I'm thinking season before. That was the season before when Graham and I scored. This one coming up, we'd won the league. We'd got to the FA Cup final, and we were in the European Cup Winners' Cup final, second season. And we played on the Wednesday night in Rotterdam against Rapid Vienna, who, if the truth be known, weren't very good. They beat Celtic, which was great. And I'll never forget, because I don't know if you remember Rapid Vienna Celtic playing, somebody threw a bottle on the park at Parkhead, so they made them play a third game on a neutral ground, and it was at Old Trafford, and we were already in the final, and I'm thinking, so me, Peter Reid, Graham Sharp and Adrian Heath, we got in the car and we drove to Old Trafford, got some tickets and went to watch them, because we knew we'd be playing one of them in the final. In many ways, I didn't want it to be Celtic, much as I'd like to have beaten them, and I think we would. But you know what it's like when a Battle of Britain is flagged up. It just seems to change the dynamics of everything. Oh, it's England v Scotland, everything changes. Yeah. And I felt we'd a much easier chance if we played Rapid Vienna. So I was delighted Celtic got beat, and B, I thought we'd beat Rapid Vienna better than easier. And we did. We beat them quite easy, 3-1. But then we had to fly back. And then on the Saturday, we had to play the FA Cup final, looking at the treble against Man United and Ron Atkinson. It went to extra time. We were shattered. We were knackered. We had nothing left. Yeah. And although they went down to 10 men, Kevin Moran got sent off. First man ever to be sent off in the cup final, I think. Yeah. We were short. We had nothing left. It's not like today when you could change 5 players and freshen it up. Yeah. It was like 1 sub, 2 subs maybe, I think. And it was just, we had nothing left. So they beat us 1-0 in extra time.
Norman Whiteside, wasn't it?
And it was just a shame, because that team deserved, it did create history, but it deserved to get the treble. That would have been fitting for how it played that year. Yeah,
brilliant, Andy. Brian Hood, good drum chapel boy, Kingsbridge Secondary School, Andy. Kingsridge had a few good players. Andy, who was the best player at school with you? This guy must know you from school.
Wow. Well, do you know what? If I'm not mistaken, Danny McGrain went to Kingsridge.
Yeah?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he was in my brother's year. Obviously, Danny was a lot older than me, but my brother's 5 years older than me. I'm pretty sure Danny went to Kingsridge.
Danny McGrain?
I might be wrong. I mean, I might have that totally wrong. I'm sure he did. But yeah, they had a few good players. But I mean, it's difficult for me to think back all that time to who actually made it. Certainly nobody did from the team I was in.
Yeah.
And my year, I think I was about the only one. But there were a lot of good players at Kingsridge. It's no longer there, that school, sadly. It's been knocked down. Yeah, I mean, that was a good breeding ground. I love that.
Yeah. Question from Bill McNeil. Andy, anyone you played beside or against that we would be surprised as a Teddy Bears fan?
Wow, that's a very good question. Surprised.
Well, Graham Sharp a Bear.
Oh, aye.
Is it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, Graham's we in Radio, me and Sharpie used to take on Reedy all the time, because Reedy's a Celtic fan, of course.
Yeah.
And we used to batter him at times. We used to have honestly, some rucks with him. But no, Sharpie's definitely a Rangers fan. He might tell you he's not, but trust me, he is. He's definitely a Rangers fan, Sharpie. Very surprised it would be. Do you know what? I've never thought about that over the years. I know what you're saying. Did I meet anybody from playing abroad or somebody, or playing for your country, you think, wow, you're a Rangers fan, really? No, I don't. No. I'm even trying to think here. I'm even trying to think here in Qatar if I met anybody. Well, I know Ruud Gullit. I know. Sorry. We know Ruud Gullit likes a bit of Rangers, that's for sure.
Yeah, good. Okay. So, Andy, obviously, after Everton, I don't want to miss nobody out here, it was a back to Villa again?
Yeah, I mean, it was a case of after that season, I thought, brilliant, we're here another couple of years. But then Howard felt that, and listen, it was his priority and prerogative as coach. He felt he wanted to move it on again. That's fine. So he came to me in the summer, and I thought, oh, problems here. You know, the manager doesn't come and see you in the summer months when you're off unless there's something happening. So I kind of knew something was in the pipeline. And he said to me, like, that Villa had come in, wanted to take me back there. I says, no. I says, you must be joking. I said, we've just won the league. We've just done the Cup Winners' Cup final. Just got beaten the FA Cup final for the treble. Won the FA Cup the year before that. Love the boys. Love you. Why would I want to go? He says, if you did, he said, there would be a gap and I've got a chance of signing Gary Lineker.
Right.
And I says, well, what do you want me to do? He says, well, no, it's fine. No problem. And I knew he was just making small talk. And about 15 minutes later, he says, well, I'm going to sign Lineker anyway. And I went, okay, what does that mean for me? He says, well, I would start the season with Graham and Gary.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And I just thought, well, at my age, I can't not play. You know, I just want to play as much as I could for as long as I could. So I didn't fancy sitting. And although in hindsight, I should have stayed. I do realise that now. But I never had time to think about it. I never took the time to think about it. It was in the close season, so none of the guys were around to chat it through, Reedy or Sharpie or anyone. It was a kind of decision I made on the spur of the moment when I just said to Howard, right, I'll go then. I'll make life easy for you.
Yeah.
And he says, I'll get battered, you know. I says, well, I can hope you do. I hope you get I says, I'll be glad if you do. But, and I went, and I shouldn't have done in hindsight. It was the wrong thing to do. I should have stayed at Everton. But, you know, it's there for a reason. Had I not gone, would I then have got the chance to play for Rangers? Maybe not. So I like to look at it and say, well, you know, everything happens for a reason, to take you to the final destination. Yeah. And maybe that was part of it. Maybe part of my journey to get to Ibrox was going back to Villa.
Yeah, okay, Brian. Andy. Folks, if you're watching the podcast, please like and share on Facebook. If you're on Twitter, hit the retweet. Andy, obviously want to move on. First, obviously, this question is, how did it feel when you got the call that Rangers were interested in you?
Well, I was at the Baggies with Big Ron. I had left Villa, and Ron had called me up and says, listen, I'm at the Baggies here. I've got, they're all right, the boys, but we're struggling a wee bit. He says, I want you to come over. Just come, help me out, training-wise as well, and be the senior pro, play as many games as you can, and try and get us out of trouble. They looked like they were getting knocked out the second division, let alone the first. So I love Big Ron, and he's always been a pal of mine for years. I've known him for such a lot. I've known him since I went to Villa in mid-70s, and he was manager of West Brom back then. And we met socially on loads of occasions, and I loved the big man. And he called me up, and I picked up the phone and he says, right. He says, right, who have you always wanted to play for? But you've never had the chance. So I'm on the other end of the phone, and I didn't want to say Rangers, right? Guess it wasn't. And I says, fuck's sake, Ron, Real Madrid haven't come in for me, have they? And he went, don't be so fucking stupid, he says. Look at the age of you. You're 32, your knee's shot. He says, Real Madrid are not coming in. He went, so he's been on the phone. And I went, he wants to know if you want to go. I said, tell him I'm on the way.
Oh, brilliant.
And I couldn't get off the phone and then back on the phone to my family to tell them what had happened. It was a cherry on the icing on the top of the cake. Yeah, I've always said that. There's so many supporters who grow up, support the club, and get a chance to play for them. And that was my chance. And it was a special year. It was the first year of the 9 in a row. So, you know, I've played my wee part in Rangers history as well, which makes me even more proud.
Andy, playing under Graham Souness, what was that like?
Well, I knew Graham for ages. You know, I'd played against Graham ever since the mid-70s. You know, we were both down in England. He was originally at Middlesbrough and then Liverpool. So we racked up a few games against each other. Plus, we were Scotland teammates as well. On more than one occasion. Graham knew me well. And I think he just wanted me in the dressing room and play a few games and lift it. He always felt I was good in the dressing room. Right. And he wanted that. But the only thing I never fell out with Graham. But a wee story I'll tell you. between him and I, but I don't know if I've told many people it. It was the last game of the season, you remember, Celtic Cup final. Yeah. As I said to you, me and Coops had been subs most of the year. If one of us wasn't playing, we'd both be subs. So I've got a few of the family coming in. I won't be starting, I said, but, come anyway. It's Rangers. Come on, Rangers Celtic. So they're all there. So we're sitting in the dressing room. I think I was sitting beside Bomber. And Graham reads the team out. The team we expected. And he goes, subs, David Cooper and me. And I went to John Brown. Brownie, did he say me or did he say me? He went, Andy. I think he said me, him. And I went, and he made himself sub, Graham. Honestly. And Graham could hardly get about the football pitch then. That was him. But I think, and he told me in confidence, so I'll not tell you, but I will. But he said he fancied winning a Scottish Cup medal. It was one of the few things he hadn't had. He said, I've got a great chance of it. So he's picked himself as sub and left me out. I couldn't catch my breath. I was gutted. Of course, we got beat 1-0. And of course, he's had to bring himself on. And the rest, I'll leave in peace.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
That was, I mean, Graham was brilliant. And he was brilliant for Rangers, what he did and how he turned it around.
Yeah. So one from Philip Lynn, Drumchapel boy who loved the dream.
Absolutely. Philip, you're not wrong there. Drumchapel boy, Lochgoyne School, then Kingsridge, Ibrox. In the days where you used to get a lift over, it was brilliant. Remember that? You won't remember that. You used to be
I do. I remember that.
No, you don't.
I do.
That was great. You used to have to get there and you'd look at the line of people go through the turnstiles and you think, right, I need a big, strong guy here. I don't want to get some weedy guy who can't get me over the turnstile. And you just go and you go, 1, 2, 3, and up you'd go over that turnstile. You're legging it up to the terraces. That was brilliant. That was, I used to get the number 9 bus in. I think it was 9 or 19, might have been 19, from Drumchapel into Govan, and then walk quite a distance. We used to walk quite a bit to go from the bus stop to Ibrox, but it was brilliant. Great days, happy days.
Yeah. Okay, Andy. So, question from Scott Smith. Andy, tell me what you think of the Rangers team this season, and what do you think of the players we've brought in? Do you think we're short in any position?
Funny enough, I was just looking at that, and I don't think. Listen, you can never have enough goal scorers, right? That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Morelos, we know that, and Roof gets the goals, gets a few.
Yeah.
Jermaine, 38 years of age. Jermaine can't keep doing it, but he is. He's chipping in with a few. So I think we've got enough. But I do like where we are all over the place. I think we're experienced. Got a really experienced side when you look at the age of a lot of the players. Like Tavernier 29, Hollander 28, Balogun 33, Barisic 28. Defensively we're really good, but then we've got nice people like Nathan Patterson, who's a young teenager. That's kind of the future. And same in midfield, bags of experience in midfield. So I think we've got a really good group there. I don't see a weakness at the back. Don't see a weakness really in midfield. We're well covered. We can cope, as we showed it the weekend when we beat Celtic. We had a lot of our players no playing.
That's
for
right.
various reasons. And we've taken them on. Wasn't a classic, but we got the job done, and that's a sign of a really good team. So I would love us to have somebody who, as long as Morelos gets 30 goals, then fine. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. But I do think we're all right, and I think we're really good with Ryan Kent there, who plays in that sort of floating role where he can go and hurt people with the way he takes people on and runs with the football. Really frightens people. So I think when you look at that, and then you put all the young kids in as well, I think we've got a really nice mix there. And I think it's arguably a better group than last year, I think. Arguably. Because they won the league without losing a game. So you're not going to argue. You're not going to argue that they weren't very good. But I don't think it was a very good Celtic side we played last year. And I think they'll be better this year. Although they've just sold Edward, haven't they?
They've sold Edward, and Christie's gone as well. Yeah.
Oh, good. I mean,
okay.
See, but I think this year is going to be much more difficult, and I think that Stephen and Gary Mack and the guys there would feel exactly the same. We might not win it with the amount of points we win it, but I don't care as long as we win it by 1 point. It doesn't matter. You still win the league, whether it's 1 point or 20, whatever it was last year.
Yeah.
But they'll be closer. There's no doubt about that. Celtic will be closer this year and might fancy themselves. But, I didn't mind us getting beat early. I just think sometimes a little shot across the bows doesn't do you any harm as long as you pick up and run with it. And I thought the Celtic game was a really good test for us. And I thought we come through it great. I did. What we come through to keep a clean sheet, to get the goal, and win the game in the manner that we did. Not flamboyantly. We had to dig in and dig deep and work really hard and do the ugly things in football. And we did it. And I was really pleased with that. Really, really pleased. So I'd love us to find another 30-goal-a-year striker. I really would. Yeah. Will we in the short time? Well, we've got no time. It's finished.
No time's finished.
We won't. But I think we've got enough. As long as we don't, as I said, we missed some players there at the weekend where we'd normally think, well, we're going to struggle to beat Celtic with these. Yeah. Without some of our big players not playing. But we didn't. We won the game, and it was really good to see. So I'm confident that, as I say, I don't think we'll run away with it this year. I hope we do, but I don't think we will. But I still think we're good enough to chalk up 56. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Andy. One here. You should still be in Sky Sports, Andy. I'm sick of listening to that colossal board, Gary Neville. Andy, we'll come back to Sky Sports. We'll just put that off. Stuart Finlay, okay. Andy, I remember when you co-commented on your first Old Firm game and you made the comment that we'd been down at the Celtic end. How proud were you and your family when you signed for the famous Glasgow Rangers? Well, we've heard about signing for Rangers, but you commentated in your first Rangers-Celtic game, Andy.
Well, I remember going and doing that. Yeah. the commentary box was above the jungle at Parkhead, right? Uh-huh. And of course, me being a blue nose, me being a Rangers fan, it was like I had to get up there before the gates opened, obviously. Otherwise, I was getting pelters, wasn't I?
Yeah.
If I walked through can you imagine me walking through the jungle half an hour before kickoff in an Old Firm game and going, all right, guys, how you doing? All the best today. How you doing? All the best. You sure? So I used to be up there. I used to climb up there if I went to Parkhead about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game. It was a nightmare. So I had to get up there to get out of sight because they all saying, you can all see me up there and they used to give me dog's abuse. But listen, it was all part and parcel of it back then. But the family, just a quick one on the family. Yeah, the family could not be more proud. One of the reasons that signing for Rangers made it great for me, as I've said, it was the fact that my brothers and my mum, I could take them to Ibrox. I could walk them through the front doors that they'd never done. I could walk them up the marble staircase that they'd never done. I could take them into the players' lounge where they'd never been. I could take them into the trophy room where they'd never been. I could take them to the dressing rooms where they'd never been. This was as much for them as it was for me. And that's how proud they were. Yeah, that's how proud they were.
Brilliant. And Andy, for anybody that's never been through the front doors at Ibrox up the marble staircase, it's impressive, isn't it?
It's very impressive. It's talked about a lot in football terms. That and the old Arsenal. Arsenal was very like it. If you've ever been to the old Highbury, you walk through Highbury and you think, Christ, I could be at Ibrox. There's almost a mirror image. Stairs going up. But yeah, it's well renowned that they opened up and the marble staircase at Ibrox leading up to the trophy room and manager's office and places like that. Yeah.
Okay, question from Wolf Marshall. Andy, who did you enjoy playing up front with most?
Cool. Do you know, the first partner I had in England, Brian Little, and a lot of people won't know Brian. Brian had about one England cap, but it was a travesty. They must have had some good players in those days, England, because Brian was a genius for me. I wasn't that great. I was a finisher. I wanted to get in front of things. I wanted to get in the penalty area and I wanted to score goals. Brian was a craftsman. He wanted to create things and he was an artist. And he was brilliant for me. He must have created so many goals for me in my first 3 or 4 years in English football. He was brilliant to play with. Graham Sharp at Everton. Graham and I got on. Apart from the fact that we're really good mates and still are, we were expected not to be able to play together when Adrian Heath got injured. And the season we nearly won the treble, but we did. We made people eat their words, and we were really determined to do that. I loved playing with Sharpie. He was great. I have to say the best player, and you're not going to like this, but I can't deny it. The best player I ever played with was Douglas.
Yeah, that was a Rangers man, eh?
Well, yes, he should have been. He should have been. But Kenny for Scotland, the few times I played with him for Scotland, was just a genius. He was just ahead of everything. Brilliant. He was just a joy to play with. He's as good as anyone I've seen.
Okay, from Graham McCallum, you've already talked about the Rangers squad, Andy, but what's your favourite current Ranger? Or who's your favourite current?
Who'd be my favourite? I'll tell you who does a brilliant job, and he's one of the older players who probably will need to get the look to sort of might replace him soon, is Stephen Davis. I think little Stephen has been in there, and he makes things, he does a simple thing all the time. Never complicates his game. You know, there are many more flamboyant, like Ryan Kent catches the eye when he gets the football. James Tavernier, obviously when he plays and he's at his best, is forward, up and down that right side, crossing, goals, everything. He's there. But, you know, a great team needs a Stephen Davis. When we were at Everton, we had Peter Reid, who just went about his job, did the stuff, made the easy things look really easy. Never overcomplicated the game. And I think Stephen does that and has done for Rangers over the last, however it's been there. So I love Stephen, and I think James Tavernier is fantastic. I like Barabosic at the fullback. Yeah. I think that the fullback's ability to cross the ball, Tavernier and Barisic, is phenomenal. Yeah, and I do like the left back. It's very rarely you get a really good left back can cross the ball as well and as often as he does and as accurately. So I like him. But my favourite would be, I was going to say young Stephen. Everybody's young. Young. With Stephen's 36 now. But even against Celtic there, he was just keeping things ticking over. Makes things simple. Breaks up play, wins it, gives it. Breaks up play, wins it, gives it. Nice pass here. His passing's always good. Very rarely gives the ball away. Very, very important.
Yeah. Because, Andy, we had Matt Letizia on podcast here not too long ago, and Letizia said that Southampton had made a mistake letting Davis go that season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, their loss is definitely be our gain. That is an absolute certainty. And he's such a good lad. You know, never really he loses the head occasionally, but not very often. He's always in control of things. And he's brilliant for the young players to have as a role model. Really good.
Yeah. Okay, folks, if you're on Facebook, like and share, Twitter, retweet. A lot of the questions folks you're asking is sort of repeat themselves. So if I'm not putting your question up, please don't feel that I think that I'm ignoring you. But just to see that same questions, I stick this one up. We already answered the question. Is it true Graham Sharp is a big Rangers man? Andy?
Yeah, he'll not admit it, Graham. Of course he won't. I always used to go with him. He's a Rangers fan. Don't you worry about that. He'll say he's no.
Right. Well, there you are. So John McKinnon from Brisbane, Australia said, I played against Graham Sharp in the juveniles. He was at Easter Craigs. I was at Postle. He was a Rangers fan, not a bad player.
Postle, by the way, that was a good side, Postle. They were always good. Yeah, he was a Rangers fan. By that, he was better than Noah Bad. Well, he was an all right player until I got a Goodison and I taught him how to play centre forward. Right,
okay, Andy. Dave Catino, who would Andy say are Scotland's most naturally gifted footballers at the moment?
At the moment, we're struggling a little. We're struggling for goals. So it's an end of the pitch where it's the hardest thing to do. Is score goals. And at international level, it's even harder. So, well, we have a collection of players that are talented. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We've got two of the best left backs in British football who play for us, Robertson and Tierney, and yet they both play the same position. How's that for luck? You know what I mean? That's just. I do think that Andy Robertson's had a phenomenal time since he signed for Liverpool. The team, the way they play suits him perfectly. He loves it. He's a big asset to them. Kieran Tierney has been brilliant for Arsenal. Naturally gifted. Oh, blimey. Do you know, I think little John McGinnitt is best. Is a very gifted footballer. Yeah. We're not blessed. We've got a lot of really good. What I like about us now, and it's a shame, what I like about us now, there's a lot of players now playing in Premier League football in England, high level. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I think we've not had that for a while. Well, we didn't have it for a long time. We with hardly anybody playing in the English Premier League, for Scotland. Now we've got a collection of them, and that can only make us better. Scott McTominay, another one who plays high-level football. We've got them all there. Stuart Armstrong at Southampton playing top-level football. That will make us better. But unfortunately for us, they're all in the same area of the football pitch.
Yeah.
You know, I think we struggle a little bit at centre-back. I think we struggle a little bit at the top end of the pitch. But I think in the middle of the pitch was where all our quality footballers play.
You've Billy Gilmore in there.
Sorry?
Billy Gilmore's in there as well now.
Billy Gilmore's a young one. Yeah, I didn't want to put too much pressure on Billy because, you know, he's a baby. But he looks a real find. This is what I'm saying. Another midfield player.
Yeah.
And the two left backs. Now, it's I feel for Steve Clarke in a bit because front men just don't come up and find themselves. You know, we have a collection of lads who work their socks off, Che Adams and Lyndon Dykes and people like that, and Ryan Fraser, and whatever. They work their socks off trying to produce, but they're not natural, I would call natural goal scorers. And it's hard. It's hard to win international football matches if you're not scoring goals. I watched this in the Euros, and I thought the same thing. I think would we get one goal in the Euros?
I think so.
Yeah. We got one goal in the Euros. Should have beat England, but a lack of a cutting edge meant we didn't. And you know, you look at it again. The last two games we've had. Last night, was it? Night before last night? Night before.
Last night, wasn't it? Night before.
Night before, Friday. When you know, we're at home, massive crowd come to see us against one of the minnows, real minnows in world football, and we win 1-0. You know, that's going to be a problem for us. And I'm so gutted. I hope I'm wrong, because with the World Cup being here, I could look at my balcony now and I can see 4 of the grounds.
Fantastic.
For the World Cup next winter. So I want us to be there. I want me to wake up in Qatar or in Doha next November and know that I'm going to be watching Scotland. Because I can phone Steve and tell him all the best hotels to stay at and where to go and where to go. And so all the boys can have a nice time. But professional time. But I want us to be there. But I really fear for us that our inability to score enough goals might prove costly. We've got a massive game coming up. Tuesday, is it? Tuesday. I think it's Austria away.
Okay.
I think if we get beat there, I don't think we're coming.
No.
So I think it's as close as that. I think because the way that Israel beat Austria the other night, 5-2, flew them away. It was eye-opening. I mean, I never expected that. I thought Austria might beat them, and I thought Austria and us might have a little dabble against each other and see who gets second place. Because no one's catching Denmark. I think they're done. They're over the hill and away. So I'm hoping that we can beat Austria. I'd love us to have a big push and beat them, but we'll have to see. I thought after we got to the Euros that would turn the tide for us and we'd start qualifying like we used to do. But maybe I'm being too pessimistic. But I hope I'm wrong. I want us to be here desperately.
Yeah. Okay, Andy. Question from David Lee: do you have any regrets about never getting into management?
Not at the moment, but I think when I finish working and I sit back and I look back, David, I think I might wonder, would I have been any good? There's a lot of people who know me think I might have been. I don't know. It's easy for them to say. And I did have talks with Everton many, many, many years ago when we talked about me going there as coach, as manager, and I decided not to. And I never really regretted that decision because I enjoyed doing the work I was doing at the time. So at the moment, no. But I think, you know, when I'm sitting in the rocking chair, hopefully, talking to my grandchildren, and one of them says, "Do you wish you'd got into management, Grandad?" I might turn around and say, "Do you know what? Yeah, I regret that." But not at the moment. Not at the moment. Okay.
Question from Hubie Kyver. Do you think modern football is as enjoyable to watch now as it was in your playing days, Andy?
This is a tough question. It's not as easy as it sounds. And I don't want to sound like a dinosaur because I've worked in the modern game now for 30 years without playing it. So I've watched it change and develop. I do think there's less excitement in the game than there was. Yes, there are some good games. I think people have become pass-driven. We want to see 1,000 passes and 5 attempts at goal. No, we don't. We want to see... I went to watch football. We see chances created, shots at goal, headers at goal, saves being made, things like that. I never went to watch 1,000 passes in a football match across the back and back again and across the back and back again. So I do think the game has changed. There are many people who will sit there and say, you're talking bollocks, you silly old fart. The game's wonderful, the way these teams keep possession and all that. That's fine if you like that. I haven't got an argument with that. If you like possession football, then go watch Man City every week, or Brighton. Yeah. They try and do the same. But I like football played at a tempo. And I hate to say this as an Evertonian, I like the way Liverpool play football. Yeah. There's no messing about. They don't piss about at the back for 20 minutes. They get the 3 of the best players in world football at the top end of the pitch. They get them involved in the game as often and as quickly as they can. Get the ball, create chances, make chances, crosses. Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2 of the most profitable suppliers of goal chances in English football, coming from their fullbacks, shows you what they do. So I don't think it's enjoyable. I mean, and remember, I watch 380 Premier League games a season. Everyone.
Yeah.
We do everyone. We show everyone live. So I see them all. Even the 4 or 5 we've got at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, we have 5 screens where we sit and watch it in the studio, all on simultaneously. And we do the goals as they go in live. So, no, I don't think is it not for me, right? And this is purely personal. I don't think it's as enjoyable. What I do think is the Euros, I think, might have done us a favour, because I do think the Euros were exciting. And I do think the Euros were good for the majority. There was the odd team, like Spain, who maybe overdid it with the passing. But other teams went to win football matches, went to go forward, went to try and create things. And I enjoyed that. And I think so did everybody. And the Premier League started a little bit like that this season. Hope it continues. But, I don't know what will happen as we go on. But, I'm not a possession-driven football fan. I want to see good football, like to see possession if it's there. But possession for possession's sake is a waste of time for me. And I do think it was more enjoyable to watch the first part of the Premier League was fantastic. I think in the last 5 or 6 or 10 years, it's maybe become a little more, I like to choose my words carefully here, a little more less enjoyable. Let's put it that way. That will save me.
Okay, Andy. So, question from Damien Dunn. Some of the stadiums look fantastic in Qatar for the World Cup. What should the fans look out for when we get there? There's no pubs.
Well, Damien, and if that's you in the picture, you're far too young to be worrying about drinking.
That's his daughter.
I know. I've only got a wee picture, tiny wee thing. He looks far too young. Is it his daughter? Oh, well, she's definitely far too young to be drinking. The stadiums are amazing, truly amazing. You will be blown away with them. The World Cup finals, just if I leant over my balcony and looked to my right and just about catch the stadium, I was down there today near it. There are 7 brand new stadiums being built. The 8th is the Khalifa National Stadium, which has been renovated and brought up to speed. So 8 brand new stadiums. No travel. The furthest the team will have to travel when they leave their hotel for a match will be 30 minutes. They can book in the hotel, and that's the hotel they stay in for the whole tournament. The only 2 flights they'll be on are the ones bringing them here and the one taking them back. No internal flights, nothing's needed, no tiresome, no change of time zones. Temperature, amazing. Temperature will be maybe 24 in the day and about 17, 18 at night. Absolutely perfect for football, absolutely perfect. Lots and lots of 5-star hotels who sell alcohol. Lots of hotels have pubs in them. Yeah. There are no sort of individual pubs that sit out everywhere, but I'm sure there'll be fan parks all over Qatar, where, in fact, there will be fan parks all over Qatar. So I think it's going to be an amazing experience for everybody to come and enjoy Qatar. I know the country's really excited about hosting it. It feels a pride that it's the first Arab nation to be offered the chance to do this, and it wants to do it well. There's a whole new infrastructure been built. I've been here 8 years now, and I've watched the country grow from my balcony. The roads are all in place now. The underground, overground is done. It's now just finishing off the last few hotels, tidying up, the last few areas that need to be done before the World Cup comes and people come to visit it. But I think anyone I've ever brought here, family or friend who's come for a holiday, has sometimes arrived with a negative idea of what Qatar has to offer, and has always left saying, right, can't wait to come back. That was brilliant. Really enjoyed that. And they've been surprised by what awaits them. And I think there's been a lot of negativity, particularly in England, about Qatar. And I don't know why, but a lot of negativity about it. But there shouldn't be. Come and judge it. See if you like it. I've loved it. It's been great living here. Been really good to us. And I think they'll be ready for the World Cup. Yeah. And I think everybody will enjoy it. Listen, it's like everywhere. If you behave yourselves, then everyone should have a great time.
Yeah, I was in over there myself, Andy, a couple of years ago. I think what the football fans are worrying about is, they want to pay £3 a pint. They don't want to begin pints at £8-9.
Listen, I think everywhere will be very aware of that. And I think with FIFA and the World Cup committee and the government, they'll get together. I hope they'll get together. And I know I obviously don't know. I hope they'll get together and come up with a formula that says, certainly in fan parks, you don't need to be charging, £10 a pint or whatever you might be. But, I don't know how much control they would have over the hotels, but I think they would try and make sure that the fans don't get stung to that kind of degree. Yeah, I think that's important. You're right.
Okay. Right, okay, Andy, here's one. Nigel Jameson. Ask Andy, does he remember scoring for Villa at the Cup at N79? Done my loafing.
I do. 1979. I don't know if it was 79. It might have been, but it was. I played for Villa. I actually scored at the other end first half, when Ray Clements tipped one in the post. And I headed it in from about a foot out. But the second one, it was 1-1, and Ken McNaught had a free kick from the halfway line, left side, and I was at the opposite side of the penalty area, being marked by Joey Jones. And I just put my hand up, said to Big Ken, smack it here. And so he sits this raking big diagonal about 50 yards. And it's going in the penalty area, just left of the goal. And Joey, I kind of was trying to fight with Joey Jones. And I managed to muscle him out the way, and he fell. And as he fell, I kind of just took it on my chest, at right foot again at the cop end. There's a collector's item. And from a tight angle, it was one of them. Because I wasn't accurate, I just put my foot through it. I hit it as hard as I could, and I thought, if I miss, I think it might have been Clem. I thought, if I miss Clem, I'm scoring. And I smashed it past him, and it was right into the cop end, and I was off. I do remember it well, Nigel. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Andy couldn't answer my last question, so you go for this one. In all honesty, have agents destroyed our beautiful game?
Well, they've certainly made a fortune out of it, Billy. That's an absolute certainty. Have they destroyed it? No, they haven't quite destroyed it. They're certainly having an effect on it. I don't see how we can do now. They're there. They manufacture moves. It's hard for players to stay loyal. They manufacture rises for players when they suggest that a player might leave the club. There's a lot of negativity around agents. I think rightly so. But I guess if you ask somebody like Paul Pogba or Ronaldo or anyone like that, who have agents who have made them, well, in Ronaldo's case, a billionaire, first footballing billionaire ever, and Pogba, so rich he never has to work again, and lots of others, and even players in the lower leagues who, I don't have a problem so much with them, because they sometimes need help and they need guided, and they need an agent to go out and getting him some money and getting him a new deal. But certainly when it comes to like the Premier League, when you're talking about a deal being held up because an agent wants 25 million himself, before the deal can be done, I don't get that. I mean, I know I'm old, but if let's say I'm Manchester United and I want to buy Mbappe and the fee's 200 million, then I'll pay 200 million. But then there's another 40 million for the agent. So if I'm paid 200 million, and Mbappe's getting 80 million, 100 million in salary, why can't Mbappe play his agent, whatever he's owed him, if he's done the deal? That's what I used to have to do. When agents first came out, you did that. You paid the agent for the help he gave you. I know it's changed. It's not going to go back. But yeah, I think that the top end, there's a lot of negativity about agents. And I think sometimes rightly so. They get too busy, but they think they're helping their client out. Okay,
folks, take a couple more questions and that'll be it, because Andy's obviously a few hours in front. Let me get these bed. Okay,
only 10 past 10 here,
Yeah, okay. So, Andy, what do you think of the job Steven Gerrard has done at Rangers, and how far can he take us, and how long do you think we can keep him?
Wow. Well, the first question is easy. He's been brilliant. He's been a breath of fresh air, and I think that I don't know if even Steven has been taken by surprise. I mean, to go and do what they did last season and be unbeaten throughout the league season was just absolutely sensational, phenomenal. And I think what he's done, the group he's assembled, as I said to you, is first class, exactly what was needed for the Scottish Premiership. So nothing negative to say about him at all as Rangers manager. How far can he take us is a really difficult one. Obviously, it was a blow, going out the Champions League and the way we did. That was a massive blow, and I think Steven would have felt that, and the players would have, because they worked so hard to win the title last year and get a chance to be back in with the big boys. And I think we let ourselves down more than anything and wouldn't apportion any blame on the manager at all. But that was a disappointment. There's no doubt he can take us into the Champions League. How far he could take us in there would depend on the kind of draw you get and what group you get drawn in. So I'm certainly hoping that this year we can win the league again and get another opportunity to progress into the Champions League proper and be involved in, November, December, that type of September, October, all these sort of dates, Champions League dates. I'd love to be involved with them. So he certainly can take us there. The question I have no answer to is how long can we keep him? There's no doubt.
When Klopp
there's no doubt in my mind that if I'm at Anfield and I'm an owner at Anfield and I've watched Jurgen Klopp, what's Jurgen been there now? 5 years, maybe?
5 years, I think it is.
5, maybe 5 comes, maybe 6. There's maybe a time where Jurgen might just say, do you know what? Done my bit. Won the league, won the Champions League, exercised all the demons. And I actually thought he might go this year. I thought he might go. And with the pandemic and the effect it's had on everybody, I wondered whether he'd stay on, but he did. So I think a lot of it might be all to do. Jurgen Klopp might control, I think, Steven's destiny and how long he's there. Because it can't have gone unnoticed at Anfield how well Steven has done. Yeah. And he's picking up years and years of experience as a coach. And they know how respected he is at Anfield, how loved he is. And it would seem a natural progression if Klopp left for Liverpool to go and try and get Steven out of Ibrox. So that's the only one I can't answer, is the last one. I think as long as Jurgen Klopp's at Anfield, we might be able to keep Steven. Well, Jurgen, get on the phone and sign a new 5-year deal right away.
Right, Andy. Okay, Andy, remember this name? Do you remember Tom Cowan?
Tom Cowan, yes, I do
remember. Rangers, Tom Always remember the older guard at Rangers, including Ray Wilkins, Davy Cooper, and Andy. They helped us give us younger lads lad was unbelievable. A thing that money can't buy. So Tom Cowan's watching.
Tom's watching. Tommy, how are you, son? I'm glad you're right there. The old guard was very good giving you advice. You're not wrong there. And the good thing was you listened. No, honestly, Tom, that was, do you know what? God rest his soul. These two guys are no longer with us, Ray and Davey. I mean, two of the nicest people you could ever wish to meet and be pals with. And they were great. They were right, helping younger kids like you. And I was an old git, Tom, as you know, when I got there. So, no, I was always part of when I grew up as a footballer, because I always, as a kid at Dundee United, I always knew, and at Villa when I went there as a 19-year-old, the help that you get from the older players is invaluable. You're absolutely right. And I was always conscious of that. So I was always keen, if anyone asked or wanted a bit of help, to try and help. And I know Ray and Coops were as well. So I'm glad we helped you, Tom, and I hope you're well.
He's good, because Tom's been on here. We've had Tom on. Tom Cowan, a fireman now, by the way.
What?
He's a fireman.
You're joking. He couldn't lift him. He couldn't lift himself. Can you imagine him lifting an 18-stone man down a ladder? He's broken to bits.
Okay, Andy. Probably the last one. Okay, Andy, how do you think Rangers are perceived down south after stopping that mob in their 10-in-a-row quest?
Well, from all Rangers fans down south, perceived in a very, very good light. Yeah, it was a massive year, full of pressure for everyone at Ibrox to do it. No, I think Rangers are perceived down south as, do you know, I've always wondered what it would have been like if Rangers and Celtic could have entered the Premier League, the English League, to where they could have gone, if you can imagine it, to be playing against City and Liverpool and Chelsea and Man U and all these big teams, Man United, to be playing against them every week, and then think of the players you could attract, think of the money you could have earned both clubs, and you know. So I think Rangers are perceived as a massive club. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You can't deny it, whatever way you look at it, whatever way you dress it up. In England, they're perceived as a massive club, and but I think everyone feels that they're okay. But if they came to the Premier League tomorrow, how would they do? That's a really good question. It's a difficult one to answer. I think if they stayed up, that would be a real good season in that way, because I think the Premier League's strong, really strong. And if Rangers could finish between, if Rangers came into the league and finished between 10th and 14th in their first season, I think would be great. So I think a lot of people think that they would struggle. I don't. I think they'd be comfortably mid to lower mid-table. But everyone knows Rangers are a big club. They're not perceived as anything other than a massive club. And you don't attract Steven Gerrard and the likes if they're not a big club. Yeah.
Okay, Andy, a question obviously I want to ask you. One of your recent guests on your show over there was a man despised by Rangers fans, Charles Green.
Yes.
I took a bit of flack because it says bringing Andy Gray on the podcast, because Andy Gray had given Charles Green a stage.
Well, we never gave him it wasn't a stage. It was like, Keezy's a journalist, as you know.
Okay.
And there were a lot of things that, you know, after his court case, that we'd like to answer. And we tried to answer as many. There were a lot of things he wouldn't talk about, obviously. You know, and Keezy took up to it.
Can you tell us what he wouldn't talk about?
No, I mean, I had lists of it somewhere on my desk a while ago. And I'd called quite a few of the guys in NASA over in North America. The guys, I know them over there well, and said, send me a list of questions you want me to ask Charles Green. So the boys did. Some of them were, I mean, we asked them as many as we could.
Yeah.
I mean, we never gave him a platform out to say, you know, I said that, you're just not liked. You made money. Others didn't. He put his case. Listen, we know he won't be going to Glasgow anytime soon. That's an absolute certainty, right? We know that. But no, I mean, it wasn't the case of giving him a platform to say, I was fantastic for Rangers. No, we were asked things like, why were you given preferential bidder treatment by, is it Dolphin, Phelps and Duff or whatever? Can't even remember. Saying that, but I didn't know a lot about what was going on then in those days, because I was in England, if you remember, away from it. So it was difficult. It's a little bit the thing that's going on with you guys in the record. I'm distanced from that. I didn't know that was going on. So Charles Green came on, and I thought we could get a load more out of him, but he wouldn't answer certain things because he said he wasn't able to. So it went down. would they make of it never changed my opinion of him at all.
Yeah.
I never thought that he was brilliant for Rangers. Don't think anybody did. And
No.
I don't think he did anything there that convinced anybody he was brilliant for Rangers.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
I think it's one of those where you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. There was a chance to talk to him, and we thought we might get something out of him.
Yeah.
And we'd like to have got more out of him. That is a genuine fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Andy. So, quick one now. Working for Sky or working over in Qatar? What do you prefer?
Let's just say for 20 years, 2 months, I enjoyed working where I did in England. But I have to say, the 8 years I've been here have been sensational. We've loved it. A lovely lifestyle. Sun shines every day. We play plenty of golf at my age. That's important. We're seeing all major football. There's a World Cup arriving on these shores in 15 months' time. There's nothing to be down about. Life is good. Life is good after being savaged. So it's been great. It's been great being here, and I hope I'm here for a little while longer. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Andy, thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure, guys.
Pleasure. It's been a lot of questions we couldn't put up because obviously there's so many. So we've picked out the ones that we thought were the best questions. Andy, thanks very much. If you just stay on, Andy, and I'll finish, then I'll come back on. Is that okay?
No problem. You carry on.
All right, Andy. Thanks very much,
guys.
Andy.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Okay, folks. Andy Gray, superb podcast. Brilliant. I hope you all enjoyed it. Sorry I couldn't get all the questions in, folks. Andy's obviously a couple of hours in front, and we're wary of that. He's obviously got his work in the morning. Folks, next Sunday, 7 o'clock, it's going to be a massive podcast. Obviously, the guy, David Edgar from Heart and Hand, is going to be on. You can all come on and ask your questions. You all know the way the Rangers and the fans have been attacked by the Daily Record in the last 72 hours. So that'll be on. And the following week, folks, it's Rangers record signing. Tor Andrew Flo, ex-Chelsea, will be joining us. And I hope you enjoyed it, folks. Again, I ask you, if you're on the Facebook, please like and share. And if you're on Twitter, hit the retweet. And folks, have a good evening. Good night, folks.